What up, YouTube Alayaks? Come back at you with another custom StarCraft 2 cast. Today we have a really interesting one. We are casting a match featuring the custom Mode of Erls Reloaded. This is a mod that introduces 30, yes you heard me correctly, 30 new playable races to the StarCraft universe. It's absolutely insane. What we'll do is introduce our players and then describe the races they are playing. Spawning on the bottom right hand side of the map, it's our pink Cyber Zerg player, MrKolosPL. PL, I'm assuming, stands for Poland, and guess what, brother? I'm also Polish. It's great to see you here. Going up against his opponent, spawning on the top left hand side of the map, it's our purple Spec Ops player, Nishnishi. So these are kind of like factions of the current vanilla races in StarCraft. So the purple Spec Ops race is a faction of the Terran, and the pink Cyber Zerg race is a faction of the Zerg, in case it wasn't obvious with the creep and the fact that this is literally like the Mecha Zerg skin. I'm so excited to be casting this. This mod, I feel like, adds so much new life to the game. It's insane. And look, I've played a little bit of Stormgate. My current setup does not run it because I am out of town, but I don't know, Stormgate just seems, you know, it's early access, it's not finished, to be fair, but these mods just seem so much more fun than Stormgate. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, if you guys hate that, let me know in the comments below, but I think this is better than Stormgate personally, at least in the current state. So, if you guys are new to my channel, I do cast a lot of custom StarCraft 2 content. If custom StarCraft 2 is something you're interested in watching more of, please consider subscribing to my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Now, back to the show. One other thing I want to mention is that the Spec Ops kind of macro up a little bit more like the Protoss. They sort of 3D print their structures. They warp them in. We'll see if this Gatherer is up to anything sketchy. It seems like it is, but at the same time, we can't, well, I was gonna say we can't deny that he's scouting necessarily, but there we go. We have the torpedo turret, which is basically a photon cannon. It shoots up and down. This is ridiculous. And one other thing I forgot to mention is that the Cyber Zerg have instant macro. So as we just saw, they instant warped in their Zerglings. Warped in, I don't know if it's the right word, but they basically instant produced their Cyberlings and destroyed the Gatherer, which is the SCV equivalent for the Spec Ops. But unfortunately, this torpedo turret did finish. We'll see if MrKolosPL decides to do anything about this. Now, one other thing I also want to mention is these races have kind of like strengths and weaknesses. The Cyber Zerg, they are weak in the early game. They basically have weak tier 1 and tier 2 units from what I've been told, and then tier 3 is where they really shine, where the not the Cyber Zerg, the Spec Ops Terran race, they rely more on support units. So we'll see how this game goes. At this point, we have an Alpha Wraith with 5 kills. It looks like 5 workers killed at this point in the game. This Alpha Wraith is doing so much damage. There's nothing that shoots up except for these EMCs, which are the Spore Crawler equivalents for the Cyber Zerg. This, it looks like this EMC is finished, but it does not unburrow, so it is stuck by the Cyber Hatchery. There is one EMC spawning in the mineral line, but unfortunately for MrKolosPL, this Alpha Wraith is doing so much damage, it does barely get away with 8 HP. I'd build one more. I would build one more EMC in the back of my natural base, and that's exactly what MrKolosPL is doing. But this Alpha Wraith already with 10 kills at 4 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. Taking a look at our units, we have 40 workers for our Terran Faction to 33 workers for the Cyber Zerg. So that was a lot of damage, and I assume, and yes, here it is, the ship port does build the Alpha Wraith, and the Alpha Wraith is relatively expensive, 175 minerals and 125 gas. So That is one unit that you want to make sure pays off. We've also got the projected marine, which I love. This oh, that is such a cool animation, and I assume that is built from sort of, okay, so here it is. There's a projection facility. I was gonna say a sort of barracks structure equivalent, excuse me. Like I said, this is the first time I'm casting these races, so here we go. We have a project marine, which allows you to build a general purpose infantry unit for 20 minerals. That is insane. The regular marine costs 50 minerals, and you're telling me this thing costs, wait a minute, okay, so it does 6 damage. That's not too crazy. It shoots up and down, but for 20 minerals, that's pretty wild. I feel like you could go for like a mono projected marine build and do some tremendous damage. And here we go. Here are the projected marines. Do they have any abilities? I don't think they do, so there's no stim pack, but this is actually wild. Okay, so a lot of them going down almost instantly. I'm not entirely sure what that was. What is this? A projection particle. What? Okay, Xhromosoma, who is the dev of this mod, the current dev of this mod, let me know if that projection particle allows you to rebuild your projected unit, like your projected infantry unit. So, okay, here's my theory, and to be fair, I don't know if this is what they actually do. If they die, do they build like a kind of, or do they produce like a kind of sprite that you can turn into another infantry unit? Am I wrong about that? Xhromosoma, let me know in the comments below, because that is absolutely ridiculous. We've also got a throat cutter right here, which is a really cool looking unit. Does it shoot up and down? No, it only shoots down. Going up against, what are these? The mecha queens. That is so cool. So I'm assuming these are like the queens for the Cyber Zerg. That is so sick. What do they do? So they have deploy nanobots, which heals units or structures life over time. Units that, okay, one second. Units that are being healed gain 45% attack speed. That is super cool. But I don't see any sort of larva inject, which makes sense if the Cyber Zerg just instantly spawn their units. This is so wild. We do see a lot of floating money for Nishnishi, but to be fair, I don't know what experience these players have with this mod, because if I were playing this, I'd be like, okay, what's the projection marine, or what's the projected marauder, and I would be at like 18 minutes in this game, and I would not know you know, what all these units do. I'd be like, okay, I'm at like 25 supply at 25 minutes in the game. It would be ridiculous. This engagement, though, looks like it's in favor for MrKolosPL with his, what is this? A system corruptor. That is super interesting. And the projector, what does the projector do? Projectors attack up to 5 air units once every attack. That is insane. That is a straight up counter to air units. That is super sick. And I loved the design on this. The Cyber Killer as well, which looks like the Hydralisk. What does this do? EMP spines. Okay, let me pause this. Let me just read this. Okay, pause. Cyber Killer spines have a miniature EMP round attached to them. Each hit removes additional 50 shield and energy to all units around target. Also disables cloaking for 10 seconds. So they disable cloaking. That is super sick. Oh, that's like a straight up counter to Dark Templar. Very cool. Now, we do have a lot of expansions for both players. We have, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bases for our purple Spec Ops player, and we have 5 bases for our our pink Cyber Zerg player. What is this? A laser lancer? That is insane. What do? They do 20 damage, and they are also a detector. That is sick. And a Dominion assault ship, which does let me see this. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was trying to read that. Looks like it did 4 ground damage, but it died before I could read it. That is hilarious. We have an AI defender being built, which I'm assuming is a static defense anti-ground structure. You guys, this mod is so sick. This is my second time casting this, so keep in mind, I have no idea what these races do besides, you know, what I'm able to read. And one other thing I thought was really interesting, which I saw in my first take of this, is the cyber hatcheries have an ability called Internal Refinery Cycle, which you can pay 120 minerals for, and you basically convert 120 minerals into 50 Vespene gas. So that is a really interesting ability. We've also got the Arcturus class battle cruiser, which is making a lot of noise right now. I cursed and I had to edit that out. I'm sorry, I could not hear. But this Arcturus class battle cruiser will ultimately go down. That is insane. How many workers went down this game? So 8 workers killed to 1 in favor of our purple Spec Ops player. All right, looks like base number 6 coming down, or already down, for Nishnishi just now. It's so interesting because it's warping in, but it looks like it's already finished. I'm not used to seeing that. So base number 6 is finished for Nishnishi. Taking a look at our units, we have what is that, 92 gatherers for our purple Terran Faction player to what is 86. What are these? I don't think these are drones. They are diggers for our Cyber Zerg player. That is wild. Taking a look at the production tab, we've also got what were they? The Warhounds for StarCraft 2, but eventually they were canceled, I think in September. I don't remember the year, but I remember the month. It was a canceled unit. I think it was in Heart of the Swarm. It was like a mech unit for, here they are. Anyway, they look like the Warhounds for StarCraft 2, but they were ultimately canceled because Blizzard did not know how to balance them. But this is a huge drop ship situation coming out from our purple player Nishnishi. What is this? This is a medical vessel, so this is probably the biggest drop I've seen on my channel at this point in the game. Oh no. Oh, this is wild. So, looks like the drop coming down in the 3rd or 4th base location. Simultaneously, we have what is a push out from the Cyber Zerg in the Terran base. Looks like base number 4 or 5 does go down, and Nishnishi deciding to load up and drop in the main base location. Are we in a base race situation right now? Oh no, MrKolosPL deciding to attack what is base 3 or 4 for the purple Terran Faction player, the Spec Ops, but all this production is being destroyed by our purple Spec Ops player. The Cyber Zerg is losing so much stuff right now. We've also got the Hoverer, which looks like the Cyber Zerg Muta equivalent. Will they survive is the question. I don't think they will. The Scaraber is doing so much damage. It does attack air and ground, and these Hoverers will ultimately go down. But to be fair, the purple Terran Faction, oh no, losing so much at the same time. Taking a look at the workers killed, relatively even. 34 workers, now 38 workers killed by MrKolosPL to 36 workers killed by Nishi. Oh, whoa, this is insane. Looks like the Cyber Zerg able to enter the main base for the purple Terran Faction. What was that? It looks like there's experimental storm, which does come out from the tech center, which is the command center equivalent for the purple player, but the main base does get melted by the Cyber Zerg. At the same time, the pink base gets melted by the Spec Ops Terran player. This is insane. Oh no. I love this sneaky base though, kind of spawning on the right middle side of the map. The main base for both players, the main bases I should say, are destroyed for both players. Nishi and MrKolosPL are relatively even in terms of their position in the game, but at the same time, Nishi is floating 14,000 minerals, which is insane. But I have to give these players grace because, to be fair, if I were playing this, I would have no idea what I'd be doing. I would legit be floating like 30,000 minerals at 15 minutes in the game. No cap. No cap. Oh, man. This is wild. Base number 3 or 4 does go down to the hands or the claws, or I guess the fire for the Cyber Zerg. That is wild. And the sneaky base, to be fair, which is not saturated. Keep in mind, there are no workers at that base. Although, Nishi, I don't think realized that that base exists. Taking a look at the units, we have 38 workers for our pink Cyber Zerg player. And how many workers do we have? We have 24 workers for our purple Spec Ops player. That is wild. We do have this base, though, kind of in the middle of the map that is relatively saturated, and this base on the left kind of middle side of the map for our purple Spec Ops player as well. I'm trying my best to keep track of what these units are. Okay, we have the Spitter, which has a reconstruction protocol which diverts power from articulators to hull, restoring hull restoration systems, multiplying current armor by 3 and increasing life generation by 3, but reduces movement speed by 0.25. That is really interesting. Also, the Mecha Queen is in the middle of this. That is insane. What is this? Some sort of ability. I don't really know what that is. I have to check out what these races do, but there's 30 of them. To be fair, that is so many matchups that it's insane. It looks like this is the final stand for the purple Terran player, the purple Spec Ops player, though, using Experimental Storm, doing so much damage. How much damage does that do? Lasts 3 seconds, costing up to 120 damage to all units in the area. That is insane. Looks like that tech center does go down. We have a couple tech centers being built in the middle of the map right next to MrKolosPL. I love that. At this point in the game, though, I want to say it's in the bag for MrKolos. That is such a wild game so far. Are these the Spitters? No, these are the orbital strikers. So I'm assuming they do extra damage to air. Let's see. So they actually target ground, but they're the orbital strike. That's interesting. What is this? So let me pause. Let me see what these do. So calculate orbital strike. Instead of dealing damage directly, orbital strikers send a missile at the target location through orbit to gather up to 2 power for 2 seconds. Missiles deal 30 damage on impact in an area to enemy and neutral units, but I don't know if that's also to air units. Based on orbital strike, I want to assume that's also to air units. Look at these animations. That is insane. The tech centers going down. Nishnishi throwing out the GG, giving the victory to MrKolosPL. What a wild game. If you enjoyed what you saw, please consider subscribing to my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you want me to cast any of your own games, I will leave my email and Discord in the description below. And I'll see you guys on the next one.